What's up, good people? Welcome to another episode of Standing on Business, where we are always standing on business. I am your host, Delvin Joyce, the People's Choice. I am joined by my guy from the New York Giants, Ring of Honor, well-dressed Amani Toomer. What's going on, Amani?
No, nothing much. Just heating up. Everything is, as the football season ends, it starts right back up again, and I cannot wait. This is one of my favorite times of year because this is where all the college players get a chance to get their first taste of what it's like to not only the different, level of competition that the NFL is, but also they get a taste of the real business of what this whole thing is about. This is not just, it's not about the college try. It's not about any effort. This is a results-based business.
Yeah.
And so this is where it stops. You stop worrying about fun. You stop worrying about all kinds of the cheerleaders, the band. Now it's about how are you going to be on the top 53 and how are you going to be on the top 47, which is how many people dress for each game as opposed to, anything else. This is rubber meets the road type of stuff. I love it. I love this time of year.
Yeah, this is not my favorite time of year as a football guy because we're so far away from football season even starting, right? It's brutal for me because outside of the occasional PGA Tour golf event, I really don't have sports that I'm that invested in. Now, when March Madness comes around, I'm kind of into March Madness, and I'll watch the NBA playoffs. And I did get a nice, kick out of the USA hockey team winning that hockey match against Canada, the gold medal game. I thought that was dope. But outside of that, man, I have nothing right now.
Oh my God, this is one of the best. Personally, for me, this is the best time of year because football's over. So I always look at football as like a job. This is what I'm always into. I've been into it from a little kid.
Yeah.
I really got Formula One, which is just starting up around the corner. The cycling season is coming around. They got you got the classics coming up, and the 1 day classics coming up in cycling. Then also you have the mountain bike XCO is coming up. So there's so much going on for me that I'm getting very excited about this season. But the Formula One is something that I'm really
interesting, man.
Seeing. Yeah,
that's really interesting. You got the kind of the big money kind of sports, right? The Formula One peeps, it's Formula One versus NASCAR, right? It's a totally different demographic, right? And then the cycling, real quick, just sort of tangent. I've never asked you this because you're a cyclist. What's your take on Lance?
Oh, it's very split, right? Because Lance did what he did and was so successful, he was the one who single-handedly brought all the English-speaking countries into cycling. Because mostly it was just it was Spain, Italy, and France. Those were and then Belgium, all these countries that they're not majority English speaking. And so when he came in and had so much success, then you see England get in, you see all these English speaking, you see Australia, all these other countries are starting to get in. And so he brought in the United States to watch pro cycling. So for the amount of bad that he's done, there's always a silver lining in the fact that he's single-handedly one of the most influential people in cycling, which is unfortunate and fortunate at the same time.
Yeah, it's so interesting because I think a lot of people are like, man, this guy, what a bad guy. He denied it so many times and I heard him say, I think it was a documentary. I can't remember what documentary, but it gave me a whole new perspective on the entire issue because, you probably know this, everybody was doing what he was doing.
Yeah.
Right. So in order for him to be able to even compete, he's got to do it too. And they're but you stood in front of the microphone and you denied it so many times and you belittled so many people and made them feel like they were jerks for asking you this question. And I think I heard him say, I got asked more than everybody else. Right. So I had to deny it more. Like, you're not asking the fourth place guy, the third place guy if they're
Yeah,
doping, but you
yeah.
ask me every time I'm in front of a mic. So I had to deny it all those times. So it's like I never really considered that. But I do want to talk about, obviously, this is our combine show. We're going to talk about the NFL combine. And we're going to talk about it from a standing on business perspective. We're going to talk about it from a sports perspective too, because I want to talk about some of these players, but we also want to talk about what it means in terms of money for some of
Mm,
these kids, right?
mm,
And what that transition to the NFL might look like financially based on how they perform in Indianapolis this week. Right.
mm.
Before we start cooking, Amani, I want to remind our listeners, please subscribe to the Standing on Business podcast on YouTube, and also like and share and subscribe on Apple or Spotify, and make sure you share the podcast and help other people find us, because we're always standing on business over here. So we want you guys to stand on business with us, right?
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
so Amani, the NFL Combine. I mean, this used to be like a big time highlight for me. Like, I remember when I was a kid, I would like always want to watch the Combine because I always wanted to see who was going to run what 40 and what their 40 time was going to be. It was all about the 40 times.
Mm,
And I remember as a kid, Darrell Green was like the guy, right? He ran like a
yeah,
4.2 or something.
yeah, yeah.
But are you still into the combine as much as you were back in the day? And do you think the combine means what it used to mean back when, and I don't want to age you, but like back when you played?
I don't think it means the same thing because there's been so much proof on what the actual combine does, and there's so much information out there that says, okay, some guy can run a great 40, some guy can, bench press, 225, 70, 80 times. That doesn't mean you're a great football player. And I
Yeah.
think that what it is it's a measuring point that lets people know if you kind of gives you a glimpse into is this person able to go to that next level and be the same player he was in college at that next level. And I think the most useless position that the combines really shows is quarterback because quarterback is art, not science. You could have the strongest arm and be a horrible quarterback, or you could have the worst arm and be the best quarterback. And so uh, a lot of it has to do with how you play the game, not your physical traits. It's a lot like basketball. Like you can jump the highest in the world. That doesn't mean you're a great basketball player. And
Yeah, true.
so I feel like there are some positions that are very athletically based, which I think receiver, um, I think tackle, with the feet. Um, I don't think corner is because like there are some corners that are terrible athletes but have great instinct for the game. Where I hate when people say instinct. Actually, let me take that back. They have a great feel for the game because
Yeah.
there's nothing natural about sports. There's nothing natural about football. Like, oh, I'm going to run into somebody as fast as I can. You don't come out of the womb thinking that. And I think it belittles the players that actually put in a lot of effort to get themselves to that level to be
Hmm.
able to do some of the things. So I'd never want to use that word natural because there's nothing natural about catching a football, nothing natural about throwing a football. It's all learned, taught skills that people have acquired over their lifetime.
Yeah, that's interesting that you don't think cornerback skills correlate well with some of the drills at the combine. Like if I'm thinking about the combine, I would put cornerback as like one of the top, positions where I'm gonna base their draft position based a lot more around how they perform at the combine. But I agree with you. Like that is sort of a field position and instincts, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where players have to kind of make decisions and be able to feel what another player's doing, but they still have to have some of those intangible skill sets. For you, Amani, like you were invited to the combine,
Yes.
right? And
Uh,
and what year was that? Like 90, 1970? What year was it again?
it was 1996.
96. Okay. My senior
Yeah.
year in high school. So tell me, I mean, what was your combine experience like?
It was the weirdest experience because back in that day, you were sequestered. So there was no
Hmm.
media,
Yeah.
nobody else. It was like you were in the stadium, and only people there were GMs, player personnel, and no agents were there. It was only if you were NFL brass in decision making, scouts. It was it. So it was a very weird situation. So you go into this football stadium and there's nobody there except you see all these different colored, you know, NFL representing jerseys, not equipment or hats and shirts and all that stuff, and that was it. And so it was just very weird, and there was no media, and so you couldn't talk to anybody on the outside. I don't think cell phones weren't a big thing back then, so you were just
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, there were no cell phones. I mean, that wasn't a thing.
If there was cell phones, it was like a
Yeah.
dollar. Nobody was putting that much money in there, and also
You had a
there was
track phone.
there was no camera phone, so they didn't
Yeah.
have cameras on the phone. Damn, I
Wow.
am dating myself. So anyway,
Yeah. You
so
had a
you go to
pager.
comp. I did have a pager, but I don't think I brought it to the combines because remember you had to if somebody paged me, I'd have to call through the hotel.
Yeah.
That hotel, there's a hotel that's connected to the RCA Dome at the time, and so
Yeah.
and it's connected through underground. So you just walk in the tunnel
By the
and
way, we have a whole generation of viewers and listeners who have no idea what you're talking about right now. Like the fact that we have pagers and you got to page someone and then you got to call. I mean, it's like a whole foreign concept. But keep
yeah.
going. So tell me a little bit more about your experience.
Okay, so I got to the combines. Oh man, it was it was a crazy experience because I got to the combines, but the night before the combines, my girlfriend decides to end our relationship.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Get out of here. So you got Stefan Diggs at the combine.
at the combines. So I'm like,
Dang.
the night before I'm gonna leave, she
Yeah.
comes over and she's like, "Yeah, this ain't gonna work." I'm like, oh, "Okay." And so like I was
Wow.
totally flustered, whatever. Like I was like something else was going on.
Yeah.
So anyway, I got on the plane, whatever, went to Indianapolis, and you do the meetings and whatnot. And I get in the meeting with the Miami Dolphins, and the guy comes up to me and he's like, and he goes, "What are you going to run the 40?" And I said, "Well," and he stops, he cuts me off. He's like, "You're not ready. Something's going on with your life. Something happened to you. You're not focused. You are not going to run whatever you think you're." He said, "What are you going to run the 40?" I was like, and he's like, "You're not going to run that unless you go back to the room and really focus yourself on running tomorrow." And I was just
Wow.
like,
So
I've never been in a situation where somebody saw right through me. And I had never met the guy and never seen him since. He saw
now
right through me.
now was that do you think, because I know there's a lot of mental chess that's going on at these things, right? So
Yeah, definitely.
from a psych and mental evaluation standpoint, do you think that was him trying to test you? Or do you think that that was him truly saying to you, man to man, like, yo, something's going on with you, man? Are you all right? Like, what do you think?
I think it was something he was like, are you all right? Is there something going on with you? I honestly believe that.
Wow, that's insane.
It
So,
was, and I, go ahead.
so I know, and so I mean, obviously, you had to shake off the breakup, right? And
Mhm.
so that was not on my bingo card today. When I was preparing these questions, I was not prepared for my girlfriend broke up with me the night before. But when
Yeah,
you think about like all the other stuff, because I think when people think about the combine, they only think about the 40-yard dash. They
yeah,
think about the shuttle drill and the L drill and the 225 bench test and the vertical jump and the broad
yeah,
jump and all those things.
yeah,
They don't think about the mental side of it, the medical evaluations, the measurements, the body measurements that you go through. So take our listeners through like that part of it. Like, was that weird for you to stand there in a Speedo and have them, measure your arms and you stand, I've seen videos of people walking across stage like, like they're in the swimsuit competition at a beauty pageant. So what
yeah.
was that weird?
It was very weird because half the time you spend walking around these coaches. Like when you line up to go on this on the, you basically go on like a stage, and there it's just like it's like there's just a arena full of, it's like you walking across the stage in like a theater, and all the theater seats are filled with scouts, general managers, and you walk up on stage and they measure you in front of everybody, right? How
Yeah.
tall you are, and then they yell it out. Then you stand on the scale, and they give you your weight. Then you put your arm out, and they say how long your arm is. Then you put your hand on. This is all in front of everybody. Then they see
Yeah.
how big your hands are. Then they do your body weight. Like it's all in front of everybody. So basically, you're standing there in shorts,
Yeah.
and and some, your shirt's off. It, it,
Yeah.
it, it reminds you of a slave auction, 100%.
Yeah.
Felt so degraded in my life than I was in that because,
Really?
oh, it was degrading.
That's interesting because I mean, you say degrade it, but they're degrading you to then turn around and pay you millions of dollars. So
That, but that doesn't, but that's still like,
no, I get it, but I've heard that same comparison before. And I don't love that comparison because obviously there's no comparison to that, right?
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I
And
get you.
and and it's like, you're going to get an opportunity to go play a sport and make millions of dollars. So, I think to me, and I get what you're saying, but I think it's like kind of a fair trade-off.
Yeah. I don't know if there's any other job in the country where you would stand up half naked, except if you're a stripper, and they'd measure your measurables and your body weight, and
Yeah.
then it's an intense physical, right? They're
Yeah.
trying to find what's wrong with you. And luckily at that point in time, I didn't have a lot of injuries, but there were guys getting X-rays and MRIs and
Wow.
stress tests and EKGs, and they're testing your blood, like everything. So they basically want to know everything about you.
Yeah.
Um, and it's very degrading in that sense, is because the HIPAA laws be damned. Um, you know, it's like they just take away all your rights that you have as a human being, in terms of your individuality, in terms of what you want to. I mean, I understand there's an opportunity to play football. I get that, but
Yeah.
like,
I mean, it's a job interview. It's the way I see it, bro. Is like you're interviewing for a job, and you're interviewing for a job in possibly the most physically demanding career possible in the country, right?
mm,
I mean,
mm,
unless you're like, you know, a professional mountain climber, like I don't know what's more physically demanding than the NFL. And so of course the 90% of the evaluation will be about your body, right? And so take me through, I guess, some of the on the field stuff for you. Like, what was that experience like?
oh, it was. I think once I get stepped on the field, I thought it was the best. Like it was just you just working out, something you do.
Yeah.
You do. I mean, you work out so much in college that it's kind of like you're just okay. Let me go out and do my thing.
Did you train for the 40 specifically, or you just trained for football?
So at the University of Michigan at the time, as soon as your eligibility was up, you went from the varsity locker room, because there was a locker room for the varsity players, and they put you into the freshman locker room
Okay.
because you had to earn your stripes to get into the varsity locker room. So they took my locker and put it in and then we used to have to go and get a workout before every work. You give it like a little, they give you put your name in and they give you a printout of who your workout was that day. The minute your eligibility is up, they stop doing that. And they used to send somebody to work out with you for my entire career, like because at Michigan, as soon as your eligibility is up, you do it on your own. So I had no help from the last day I played in a bowl game to the combines. None.
Wow.
I was just working out on my own.
All right. So I want to put you on the spot because
Hmm.
I love that. I can listen to you tell the story all day, by the way, but I want to move the conversation along. But I do
All right.
want to hear because
Yeah.
I want to compare it to my pro day because obviously I
Okay.
was not invited to the combine as a guy who played Division One AA football, now FCS. I had a pro day where some scouts came to James Madison University, my alma mater, to see me perform the same combine drills, right? So I want to
Hmm.
compare. Do you remember your 40 time that day?
Uh, at the combine, I think it was 4.46.
4.46 is rolling.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
that's fast. Yeah.
But this was back when we used to. We ran at the old combine at the RCA Dome where nobody ran because it was a traditionally slow track.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
didn't
So,
we didn't run in cleats.
yeah.
I ran in Hirachis.
Yo, the Harachis are hitting back then.
They
Oh
were,
my
yeah.
God. Yeah. Yeah. That's funny. Bro
Yeah.
ran the 40 in Harachis. That's hilarious. That's the best part
Yeah.
of this story, by the way.
If you
And
don't know what Nike Hirachis are, they were a groundbreaking shoe that still looks dope today.
still looking
But
dope. I'm
yeah,
gonna
yeah,
get me a pair now. Give me some throwbacks. What was
yeah,
your
yeah.
what was your vertical?
I jumped to 43 something.
43 is that's high, bro. That's crazy. And then what was your do you remember your 225 bench?
I didn't do 225 because I didn't have to. They're like, you can do 225, and most receivers don't. I was like, okay, I won't. But I should have done it because I was doing like 16 at the time,
You're
17
doing 16. Okay, gotcha. Yeah. Yeah, no, I
on my
mean,
own.
so my pro day, I jumped 39 and a half. I think I ran like high 4.5 something. I wasn't super fast. I was quicker than I was
Very
fast.
quick.
So
You're
my
unbelievably
shuttle,
quick.
my shuttle was like sub 4, right? But
Yeah.
my 40 time was like 4.58 or something
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I did 19 on 225 bench test. But I was a
Wow.
running back,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like
Kind of have to.
I'm supposed to do that. But
Yeah.
so let's talk about let's talk about the draft, right? And how the combine impacts a player's draft status, because right now, obviously, I think there are some guys who could move potentially up or down based on their performance. And when I think about the things that these scouts are looking at the combine, I feel like the 40, you tell me what you think, but I feel like there's too much emphasis sometimes placed on 40 time. Because I personally believe that sometimes that 40 time where a player is in shorts and running in Harachis and no helmet, no shoulder pads, that speed, basically butt naked doesn't translate to speed on the football field, right? And I'm reminded
You're
of
100% right.
yeah, right. Like I'm reminded of so when I left the Giants, I had a workout for the Redskins, and they brought in another guy to that same workout. His name was Antonio Brown, not the AB, right? That
Yeah.
everybody knows is another guy, Antonio Brown. Ironically, his son, I think, is Malachi Tony, the All ACC Rookie of the Year receiver from
Yeah.
Miami this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's his kid. So Antonio was like a blazer, though. Like this dude was fast. So we're at this workout, right? Both of us trying to get a shot to get on the Redskins roster. I think it was kind of mid-season too. And
Mm.
bro, I'm gonna tell you something. Shout out to Antonio Brown, nice guy. I was a better football player than him. I'd already had a better NFL career than him at the time, but he came out there and ran like a 4.2. Like,
Yeah.
and I could see it in like the scouts in their eyes. Like they were like little kids at Christmas. Like it was the best thing ever. And I ran my best time ever. Like I ran a 4.4 something that
Yeah.
day, like a 4.45. And I was super
Yeah.
proud of myself. But
Yeah.
they could not get over the fact that he ran a 4.2. So, Amani, for you, like when you think about all the drills, right? Like which one do you think is like the money drill? And which one should they pay the most attention to?
Uh, I would pay attention to the 40, but not, I don't think that would be the biggest thing.
Yeah.
I would say one of the jumping, like the standing broad jump or the vertical. I think the vertical or the broad jump, I think are a better indicator of how athletic you are because it shows how much explosion you can have. Because the thing about the 40 to me is I didn't run track in
Neither
high
did
school
I.
or college. I mean, I
Yeah.
just didn't like it.
Same.
But if you look at the guys that run track, they have such an advantage in the
Totally.
40-yard dash because if you know how to run and you've put in, thousands of hours in the get off on the starting blocks, you're halfway there.
Yeah.
The 40 is all it is a start and you don't really even hit top speed. If you're running the 100-yard dash and you're you're trying to figure out when you go from accelerating to maintaining. Accelerating means you're constantly getting faster as you're running. You're going
Yeah.
it. Most of the big time 100-meter dash sprinters, they're
Yeah.
accelerating through 60 yards, and there's maybe 40 yards of it where they're maintaining. There are people that are very fast in the 40 that are slow in the 100.
Yeah.
And I
I've
was one of those guys that was faster. I was tops. They call me top speed Toomer. Like once I got going, then I could maintain and keep going faster.
yeah.
So I was a more faster, long speed guy than a short speed guy.
The money changes big time though based on your draft
Yes,
position.
yes, it
And
does.
I've
Absolutely.
heard you say like you thought you were going to be a first round guy, you were disappointed, and then you slipped to the second round.
Yeah,
So that's not just like, oh, that sucks. That is also a direct correlation to how much money you're actually going to get. And so
yeah,
when you think about right now, if you go in the first round, if you're like a top five quarterback, you're probably going to make somewhere between 35 million to 42 million total, right?
yeah,
And it's
yeah,
fully guaranteed. So all first round NFL draft picks are fully guaranteed. If
yeah.
you're a quarterback and you go in the first round and you go like from picks 10 to 32, you're probably also still going to get somewhere between 15 million and 30 million.
Hmm.
Now, if you drop to the second round, that number goes to 7 million to 10 million, and only probably 60 to 75% of that's going to be guaranteed. And it's likely just going to be your signing bonus,
Hmm.
right? So when you think about how your draft position impacts the amount of money you can make and how this combine impacts your actual draft position, Amani, talk again, your experience, like you went from first round to second round.
Yeah.
What was that like and what were the negotiations like, I guess maybe with your agent even?
Well, they offered me 4 years at the time. They wanted me to go 4 years for $2 million,
Okay. Yeah.
but I ended up making it's only signing a 3-year deal for 1.5, I think 1.4 something, 1.495.
Yeah.
And in those days, the first rounders could only sign 5-year deals. So if you're in the first
Mm,
round, you sign 5 years. So it's better to sign. It's better to be a early second round draft pick than a late first round draft pick because you hit free agency quicker.
yeah.
So because that happened, and I bet on myself, I was able to hit free agency before any of the first rounders hit free agency.
And you stay with the Giants and you got a
And I say,
better second contract now. So I think what a lot of our listeners now understand is that, now all rookie deals are 4-year deals, right?
okay,
So,
mhm,
and then you get to negotiate that, free agency after your fourth season. But if you are a first rounder, and I think this is one of the things that is a common, misconception. If you're a first rounder, then the teams have an option for a
the fifth
fifth
year.
year, right?
Yeah.
And so that fifth year, now they have to exercise that option after your third season. But then if they do exercise that option, you get a guarantee in your fifth season, no matter what, even barring injury, no matter what, they have to pay you that fifth year deal. Now, it kind of sucks for you as a player because to your point, now I've got to wait for free agency another year before I get my second contract.
Mhm.
But, it also can work to your favor as a player if, maybe I like the team that I'm with and I want to stay with this team and they exercise the option and I get, 30, $40 million in 1 year,
Mhm.
right? And so I think the advantage there, I think typically skews toward the organizations because they can lock down their first round pick for an extra year.
Mhm.
But I think for some players, it's actually kind of worked out.
There's two frames of the mind, right? First of
Yeah.
all, you got to be realistic with yourself, and the fact that most players only play 4 years.
Right.
So the only money that you're really guaranteeing is the money in your contract, regardless first round, second round, whatever. So that's the way I looked at it. This was all the money I was going to make in my life, right?
Yeah.
So in my football career. So I was
Yeah.
just like, hey, I'm working for my second contract from day one, right?
Yeah.
So that's my focus, get better, get on the field so that can happen. The more money you make early on, it's great, but also with more money, there's more expectation, right? So there's a lot of first rounders that maybe aren't ready for the league. And that doesn't mean they're going to have a terrible career. They're just not ready to be thrown out there to the wolves. I mean, you just look at it with the quarterback, Sam Darnold and, Baker Mayfield and all these quarterbacks that, they're good players. They just weren't ready at the time. And so there's a reason why, there are players that go in the first round, the second round, whatever. And a lot of it is they're guessing that first rounders are ready to come in there and play right away. And it doesn't, and sometimes you don't even have a higher upside. You just are more ready to play right now. Maybe it's because of your athletic ability. Maybe it's because of your size, or maybe it's because of the system that you played in. So there's a lot of contributing factors behind the scenes that just because you went to a certain school and they ran a certain offense, you're going to be behind, or defense, you're going to be behind just because you don't schematically understand the X's and O's of the game.
So let's talk about this year's draft, right? And so there's a
Okay.
lot of players that I think need to perform well at this combine in order to enhance their draft status. I also think there are some players who could probably hurt their draft status by a poor performance. Actually, before we go there, for you, Amani, over the years, any prominent examples of people who either enhance their draft position or hurt their draft position based on their combine performance?
Um, I was there with Josh Allen,
Okay.
and he is an absolute beast, by the way.
So Josh
Absolute.
Allen from the Bills, right? You're talking.
Josh Allen, the quarterback for the Bills, he went to Montana.
No,
Everybody
he
knew
went to
he had.
Wyoming, right? I thought.
Sorry. He went to
Yeah.
Wyoming. Wyoming,
Yeah.
Montana. I know the difference, but
Yeah.
same part. But so he was at the combines. They were running at the last part. They're throwing, and they all threw. And Josh Allen gets the ball, gets the snap from the center, and he just and the receiver's running a go route. And usually you want to get the go route out early because these guys can run. He
Yeah.
catches the ball, he just taps it a little bit like this, and then he lets the ball go, and he threw the ball like 80 yards in the air. All the scouts went, "Oh."
Now, wait, now why were you there?
I was there as a capacity. I was a legend with the NFLPA. They have like some every year they have a couple veteran players so they can walk with them in this situation and kind of let them talk to different players to kind of calm their nerves and kind of get what's going on, because there's a lot of thing about the combines that is mental.
Yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
let's go back to a question I was going to answer, but I remember being in the combines and I'm like, I wasn't confident enough in who I was as a person because I was 20, 21. I didn't know who I was really.
Yeah.
So you go in these meetings with these teams and you're like, what do they want from me? Because there's never been a time that your personality, who you are, has ever meant anything because you're always in this team concept.
Yeah.
So they're sitting there asking me about me, and it was just very weird for me. And I didn't know how to act. Like I was like, I wish I could talk to somebody so they could tell me what these teams are looking for, because I had no idea. Because at Michigan at the time when I was playing, you never thought about the pros. You thought about Michigan and that was it. And then if you did well enough at Michigan, the pros would take care of themselves. This is olden days. This is olden days. So me being around NFL um, personnel and NFL mindset was totally new to me. So I had no idea. So I didn't know. It was a very confusing situation for me.
By the way, I love that you just called it the olden days. Like that is a signification of like age. Like you're an old man. When you refer to something as the olden days, you're an old guy. So
Bro,
Josh Allen.
I just said we didn't have cell phones. I just said
Yeah.
there was media there. I mean, how else?
I
There's
know,
no
it's
other way
crazy.
for me to spin it, so I might as
It's
well lean in, right?
it's crazy. So Josh Allen for you was a guy who increased his draft
Increased his
status
draft value. Yeah. It was
based
also
on the combine.
because his arm was just otherworldly.
Yeah.
Otherworldly, his arm. He was hosing everything. Um,
And it also kind of speaks to the idea that right, Wyoming is not like in a Power Four conference.
yeah,
It's in a Group of Five conference, the Mountain West, right, where you typically would see a guy who is not at a college that has been playing on TV or national TV every week or a
yeah,
primetime slot on television where these scouts are probably watching. And so he needs to go to a combine and perform well in order to get drafted, right?
yeah. Because remember, he was not a high recruit. I mean, he was rejected by more schools than anything else in terms of
Yeah.
getting a scholarship. So, he's from California and ended up going to Wyoming. All the schools on the California on the West Coast, most of the Pac-10 schools at the time passed him
Yeah.
over. So he had a little chip on his shoulder. He wanted to show everybody what he could do. Also, there's another guy named Mike Mamula. He was the year before me. He went
Okay.
to
Yeah.
Boston. He went to Boston College. He went to the combines and absolutely destroyed it. And I
Wow.
played against him at Boston College at Michigan, and he was an absolute beast. But sometimes the film and your athletic ability don't match up. And so
Right.
once he did what he did at the combine, he ran a 4.5 40 at like 250 pounds. He benched a ridiculous amount of whatever, jumped ridiculously high for a middle linebacker or an outside linebacker, and he ended
Yeah.
up going to the first round to the Philadelphia Eagles. And I don't think his career ended up as they thought it was going to end. But he was
No.
a great player. But his athletic ability and his film matched up, so that's why he ended up going the first round. But he just wasn't able to correlate over to the next level.
Yeah, I think that's kind of like and I think about a couple of prominent players like John Ross, the receiver out of Washington,
Yeah.
right? Like in 2017,
Mhm.
he went top 10. I think he went ninth overall, and it was 100% because he got like he ran a 4.22 at the
Yeah.
combine, right? Like I think
Yeah.
he was
Yeah.
probably projected to be a second or third round guy. Runs
Yeah.
4.22, jumps up into the first round, top 10 pick,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then you look at a guy like DK Metcalf, who, obviously had a great combine, but he didn't do well in the L drill, right? The three cone drill.
Yeah.
And then he drops all the way to the 64th overall pick,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I think the one that stands out most to me though is this guy Byron Jones. I don't know if you remember
Yeah. I
him.
remember Byron Jones.
Man, I mean, what do you remember about him? The same
I
thing
remember,
everybody remembers about him.
yeah, he broke the world record in the standing broad jump.
Yeah, like I think he
Yeah.
jumped like 12.3, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And that alone boosted him into the first round, which is incredible.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Um,
and then
it was freakish.
yeah, it was freakish. But again, to your point, like when
Yeah.
someone does something freakish, and I think this is the value of the combine. When someone does something freakish, it forces the scouts, especially if it's something they've never seen before. Josh Allen just
Mhm.
flicking the ball 80 yards in the
It
air
was
down the
it was
field,
ridiculous.
right? You know,
Yeah.
this guy jumping 12.3 and breaking the record, which I think previously was like 11.7, right?
Mhm.
So like 6 inches further in the standing broad jump than the last guy, right? Which is insane. So I think when people see those types of things, it forces them to say, wow, right? And it moves your stock big time.
Mhm.
So I guess when we think about this year and some of the players, let's first talk about, I guess, quarterback, because to your point, a lot of I don't really care what my quarterback runs in the 40, right? Unless you're Michael Vick, I want to see you run, what I think you can run, because you're going to be running for your life potentially, right?
Mhm.
With our offensive line. Like if I'm Cleveland, Shador, I need to know what you run in the 40, my guy. you know, but like quarterback, I mean, think about, I guess, obviously the big name is the national champion, Fernando Mendoza.
Mhm.
I don't even think he's going to throw at the combine, right?
I mean, I don't think he should do anything. I mean, he is so head and shoulders above any other quarterback. The only thing he could do at the combine is hurt himself.
Yeah. But but should he though? Like, should he compete? Is what I mean.
I
I
mean,
think
Cam Newton did it.
yeah, I think a part of it for me is like I want if I'm a scout, and again I'm not, but if I'm a scout, I want to see a kid come here and like line up and compete too. Like I
Yeah,
understand the financial side of it.
yeah. I mean, that's great, and that sounds all great, but you're talking about
Yeah,
dollars and cents, and you're talking about you don't have that many opportunities, and it's a flawed system, and everybody knows it's flawed,
yeah,
right? And so if you have great tape, you got to stand on your great tape. If you won a national championship and you're the odds-on favorite to go first pick overall, why give them anything to not put you there?
yeah. No, that's a good point. And so I think he will still go to the combine, right? He still has to do the medical
He has to.
evaluations. He'll have to do the psychological and the mental evaluations. And that I got to be honest, man, I think that's the one that where I think he could hurt his status a little bit. I think that one. I don't know how you feel, Amani, and I'm probably going to get some hate mail about this take, but he seems a little robotic, right? In a lot of ways. Like, I see a lot of memes that kind of make fun of his post-game speeches. They're like, oh, it looks like he rehearsed that in the mirror the night before, or, and everybody makes all this about his LinkedIn profile and all this stuff. And I really truly think that a lot of these NFL coaches and scouts are going to want to sit down with him and find out what he's all about. Because again, from my vantage point, and I don't believe he's disingenuous. I do not
Mhm,
believe that.
mhm, mhm.
But I do believe that there's a faction of people out there who believe that he's not a super genuine dude, right? Just because of a lot of just his post game, like, I can't even describe it, right? Just the
Yeah.
way he talks in his post game interviews. And you know as well as I do, man, I don't know that I think a lot of coaches, scouts would be concerned about how that plays in an NFL locker room with a bunch of grown dudes, right? Obviously, the dude can lead men in college, but
Yeah.
like you get to a bunch of grown dudes and it just seems kind of corny. So what is your take?
It's funny. I just, you brought up all this stuff about how leading a grown dude. It reminds me of my take on Caleb Williams.
Yeah.
I first saw Caleb Williams, he played for USC. He was in the, I guess his mother is like does nails or something like that. And
Yeah.
so like he was getting his nails done with Reggie Bush, and I was like, absolutely not. He's going to be terrible in the league, right? One thing I've learned about being in the NFL and being in a you know, high stress, high productive business is everybody reacts differently to stress. And
Yeah.
that's one thing that keep having to retell myself is that
Sure.
no matter what I think, right? It's about his approach, right? Is his approach going to translate over into his locker room? I was wrong about Caleb Williams. I'll
Yeah.
freely to admit that,
Yeah.
I was
So you think
trying to
he's legit?
Caleb Williams is legit.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Caleb Williams is legit, and I was just trying to say, look, this is something as a veteran I could see, like, you walking in there with nails, and he's a different type of guy. And so
Yeah.
just because you're a different type of guy doesn't mean you're a bad leader. Like
No.
everybody leads in their own different ways.
And by the way, I agree. I don't want to take what I just said about Fernando Mendoza to mean that I believe that. I'm just saying
Yeah.
that a lot of people
Okay.
believe that he comes across very disingenuously in his post-game interviews, and it all seems rehearsed and kind of like an
Yeah.
act. And like, does that play in an NFL locker room with grown dudes? Like, or is that corny, or people will write him off?
I think,
So I just think in these evaluations, in these interviews, I
yeah.
do believe that there are coaches who are going to want to understand who he is and what he's all about, and what they have seen in these post game interviews is that Fernando Mendoza.
First of all, I think that's a ridiculous, it's ridiculous. Like, you're not going to learn about somebody in 15 minutes.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
You're not going to learn about somebody in 20 minutes. You're not going to learn about, you can meet somebody 15, 20 times. You're not going to know. The only way you're going to know is when they're in the building, how do they treat them, how do people treat them, and how do they respond.
I
So,
totally agree. But they're going to do as much as they can to figure that out.
my
right?
my evaluation process would be different. Like so, Fernando Mendoza went in to Indiana and nobody knew who he was.
Yeah.
He spent a year there, off season, all this stuff. Do his teammates react to him?
Yeah. No.
That's the ultimate litmus test to me. Do
Yeah,
his
I agree.
teammates react to him? Do his teammates hate him? Do they genuinely like him? And that's not very hard to find out because you go and as the do your homework in the combines, you're going to go and talk to everybody in that building, the secretaries, the trash people, everybody. You're going to figure out who this guy is or who they perceive him as. And if you get enough people to give their take on this person's personality, then you can you're not going to know him, but you're going to know how he comes across to other people.
Yeah.
And so that's the only thing that I would look at when I'm talking about Fernando. I would not care about what people's perception because some people are just terrible at giving speeches. Some people are terrible in front of the media and they're
Yeah.
totally different people because they don't
Yeah.
know how to deal with it. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know.
And by the way, that's I think that's the only question mark for him because I think for a lot of people, I think he is a consensus, top quarterback in this draft. I think the other guy that is kind of interesting for me is Carson Beck at
Yes.
quarterback, right?
Yeah.
And I think we talked about this in pre-production. You said the guy's like, older than a lot of the quarterbacks in the league right now. I think that's
Mhm.
probably to his benefit, especially going into a situation like the combine and then potentially going into a situation on a team where, he's going into a team with peers who are his same age versus being the young guy in the room like Fernando Mendoza might be. So, what do you think Carson Beck can do to improve his draft stock in this combine?
I think he needs to lean into the fact that he went to another school, learned another system, and took them to the national championship. So he took two different schools to national championships. That's what you have to lean in on,
Yeah.
because that is what you're going to be. You're going to deal with more sudden change in terms of coaching staffs, in terms of players, getting along with different people's personalities. I think that taking that fifth year, going to another school like Mendoza did, I think that is a blueprint to kind of getting, that means you can get up to speed quickly. Somebody who stayed at the
Yeah.
same school the whole time, I think that might be a drawback, not because, um, only because they haven't done it before. Just showing a year before, look, I've done this before. I've changed the whole, Miami went from where they were last year to national championship. That
Yeah.
says a lot. And so I feel like that is what he needs to lean in on.
Yeah.
His play on the field hasn't been super consistent. I don't know if he's an elite athlete in terms of there's something that jumps off the page about him. I know he had a great career in Georgia and then for some reason decided to leave. Uh, there's millions of reasons why I think he did leave, going down to
Yeah.
Miami.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I feel like he's going to be a guy that he's going to be reliable, but and he's going to be able to come in and step in and not hurt your program, your team. But is he going to be able to take a program to the next level?
Do you think he's a first rounder?
Mm. I think he could be I think he's going to be a Jackson Dart. Team's going to draft back in and get him,
Yeah. Because
even though I
I
don't think
do.
he's the athlete that Jackson Dart is.
Yeah, because I think he's the opposite of the situation that Fernando Mendoza's in. Like, I think Carson Beck has to go to the combine, and I think he needs to throw the ball at the combine. And I think if he throws the ball well, I think he's a potential first-round draft pick. I think if he has a poor performance throwing the ball in front of scouts, I do think he could fall to second or even the third round.
But the thing about it is like if what does throwing the ball well in the combines mean for him? Because
Well,
he's going to
what?
be with a whole bunch of receivers that he's never seen before.
Yeah, but
That's the problem.
I think it means, he's throwing the ball on air first off, right? So there's no pass rush. And it's not like they're lining up doing 7-on-7 drills. So they're throwing the ball on air. And so I think there are measurables that these scouts are looking at, right? They're looking at,
Yeah.
all right, what is his arm strength? Can he throw the ball from the opposite hash to the other sideline and get it there, right? And what does his deep ball look like? So I think there are some things that he can do, even though it's on air at a combine, that, will either impress the scouts enough to say, we're going to take a chance and pay this guy first round quarterback money, or we're going to pass and maybe try to sneak him and get him in the second or third round.
I think he might. I think he might sneak in the first round because all the other quarterbacks kind of left.
Yeah, it's not a great draft
Yeah, the
class
dude from
for
Oregon
quarterbacks.
decided to stay back in college.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think next year's draft class for quarterbacks is better. In fact, so much so that, we talked about this. Maybe the most talked about name in this year's draft is a safety, right? Out of one of your favorite schools, Ohio State, in Caleb Downs.
Yeah.
So, I think people are projecting him to be maybe a top 3, 4, 5 pick at safety.
When's the last time you've seen a top pick be a safety?
Yeah, it's been a while. And by the way, let me tell you
It's just
how
not.
that
It's not that type of position.
it's not that type of position. And the money also, like if you think about, again, for standing on business audience, right? If you're a first round quarterback and you go, top 5, it's 35 million to 42 million. If you're a safety and you go in that first round, you're probably going to get 12 to 18 million guaranteed, right? Now, I don't know how that money is impacted if you go in the top 5 picks. That's probably going to change the dynamic for Caleb Downs. But a second round safety probably gets half that, probably somewhere around 6 million to 8 million. And if you go in the third round, it's probably even less than 5 million as a safety. So what are your thoughts about, I guess, Caleb Downs? I mean, top 5?
I mean, the only thing about it that's keeping me from having him a top 5 pick is the history of safeties.
Yeah.
They're
No,
just
he's a
not.
baller.
No, I 100% agree. He's a great player, but
He's a baller.
you could name the best fullback in the league right now. Like,
There are fullbacks in the league.
yeah,
Yeah.
and they're coming back. But my point is like, or a Sam linebacker. Like,
Yeah.
they just
Yeah.
they're not positions that you need. You need a solid player,
Yeah.
and for you to go from having a solid player to a great player, the juice isn't worth the squeeze, right?
Yeah. So again, to that point, I mean, does Caleb Downs go to the combine and run? Like, does he go run a 40 and participate in all the drills at the combine? And
I think he would. I think he should. I think he
I
should
think he
do
should too.
because I think he'll if he shows he's athletic, then they can move him to either the nickel corner,
Yeah.
like Darren Woodson, or they can, and that would be a added value. You have a good nickel corner, or you can put him in the box, and maybe he can be a linebacker safety kind of tweener type of thing.
Yeah.
That would bring value to him. The fact that he could do more than just play the too high safety. I want him to, or maybe he can even play will linebacker if in certain situations. And will
Yeah.
linebackers get paid a lot of money. So I think he needs to go there to show his athletic ability, to show his
Yeah.
versatility.
Yeah, I think he's a guy that goes to the combine. I think this is what the combine is made for. He's a top prospect, and his performance at the combine will determine whether he's a top pick in the first round or maybe falls to a late pick in the first round. I think the guy is a first rounder no matter what. Like, he can only, unless he goes to the combine and just totally is unimpressive, runs a 4.7.
He runs a 4.6, 4.5, 4.6, and you're just kind of like, is he that good? Because that would tell, if he runs a high 40, right? That would tell everybody in the NFL that, ooh, maybe he's just faster than he's fast enough to be a dominant player in college, but
Yeah.
his skills aren't going to translate over to the next level.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. Speaking of skills translating, I mean, perhaps the most interesting combine story for me is Reuben Bain, right? The Miami Edge rusher who, much has been made about, obviously, his performance on the field. Dude is a monster. Like, dude can play high motor. Like, he's always around the football. He's like super active.
Yeah.
But the big knock on him is that his arms are so short. Like he's got historically short arms. Like his arms, I think they measured him less than 31 inches. Like he's at like
Yeah.
30 point,
That's a big deal. That's
it's like for an edge, is
yeah.
that
That's a
real?
big
I mean,
deal.
is that really that big of a deal? For and by the way, for an
It's a
edge who will
big deal.
likely
It's a
play in a 3-4 system, so likely play more in that sort of edge linebacker role for most teams, right?
yeah. Yeah.
But
Outside linebacker. Yeah, yeah.
how big of a deal is
It's a
that?
big deal. It's a
Yeah.
huge deal. I had a friend. I played with a guy named Buster Stanley, right? And he was one of the better defensive linemen that we had at Michigan.
Yeah.
And he was a great college player, but he didn't even make the league because his arms were short.
Hang
Because
on.
you got to think about he didn't make the league. He didn't get drafted. He went undrafted. He was one of the best
Oh,
Michigan linebacker defensive line we had, but his arms were short. And so, like, if you're going against somebody, a defensive tackle who has long arms, they're going to be
yeah.
able to touch you. You know, like the old thing where you put your hand on a little kid's head and they're going like this and they can't touch you. That's exactly what it's going to be like. It's going to be like, yeah.
Oh my God, bro. So you are saying this guy did not make the league because he had alligator arms. I mean, that's what you're saying.
Yeah.
So how
Because
much?
in
Yeah.
the last bowl game, we played against the tackle that was a pro. He was like a very highly rated guy that was going to go to the league. And Buster went against him.
Yeah.
And Buster didn't piss a drop because the dude just locked his long arm.
Bro, I don't know why that's so funny to me. And by the way, as a guy who has long arms, like I have long arms. Like I think my
Yeah.
arms are like, 32 inches long.
Yeah.
No, actually, no. My shirt size is 34, right? So I have long arms for a guy who's 5'6", 5'7", which is
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah.
So I guess so he's a guy that needs to go to the combine. He needs to have a great vertical jump, a great broad jump. He needs to run a fast 40 and an L drill and the shuttle. Like he needs to do all those things well.
But you got to think about this, right? All these scouts know less about football than you and me, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
They've seen a lot of players.
100%.
They're like tax. They're like people who do taxes. They look at size. They look at all this speed. They look at all this, and then they just don't want to be that guy pounding on the desk for this young player and saying, I want him. Because if you pound on the desk for anybody and that guy doesn't do good, that's on you. So they want to be able, all these guys want to do is they want to be able to say, hey, well, look, guy, because they don't want to kick a guy. And then all of a sudden, 4 years later, they're like, who picked this guy? You know, the scout who picked him to be like, I bang my fist on the table for this guy because I really believed
Yeah.
in him. You believe in this guy who had this short arms? Mm.
We could have seen it, right? We could have seen it. He has
You
short
should have
arms.
known, right?
Yeah, should have known. Yeah.
That's the thing about the NFL
No
Combine
question.
that I don't. That it's about CYA, cover your butt, and not that word. Cover your butt. Make sure that all the things are in line. Film be damned, right? It's just how well can you defend this as opposed to I'm looking for the best player. The teams that look for the best players tend to do really well in the combines, like the Baltimore Ravens. They tend to do well because they don't they don't take as much they don't take as much into the numbers of it. They want to see how good you are playing football. And that's what the Pittsburgh Steelers were like that too. They were a team that always looked at that were never fooled. You know a team that gets fooled a lot? The Jets. You know a team that gets fooled a lot? The Raiders. They always are like, oh my God, this guy ran a 4 or something. He's going to be a great player. Very rarely
Yeah.
does that happen.
Jamarcus Russell. Yeah. So I think about edge rushers too, right? So this is a
Yeah.
big deal for Bain because as an edge rusher, that is a premium defensive
Oh
position.
yeah. Oh yeah.
right? Like that is going to get you in the money. It's not like being a safety or a
Yeah.
running back,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So a top 5 edge, like if he could go in the top 5 of this draft, he's probably going to get 30 to 40 million
Yeah.
guaranteed.
Yeah.
If he goes mid to late first round, he's still looking at 22 million guaranteed, which is insane for a defensive position.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you look at, like, if he slips to the second round, obviously it's 8 million to 10 million. And then third round is probably somewhere around 5 million to 6 million. Now Ruben Bain, short arms be damned. He's not going third round. But I would imagine that for
Who
him,
knows?
he's trying to get into that top 5 conversation because he had a very, very productive college football career.
No, but when you think about that, you got to think about the guy said before, you got to cover your butt. But there's been a lot of players that have short arms that have done very, very well. Like Aaron Donald, short arms. That's why he slipped in the, he did very well. Justin Tuck, we all both know he went well. He has short arms. So he was one of the guys that fell in the draft because of it. So I always tell people, like, I always tell the players, like, yeah, great, you get drafted, but that's only like a stepping stone. Don't let that be your destination. And so, some people are going to get drafted higher, some people get drafted lower, but that doesn't, at the end of the day, your career, all you need is a shot, and your career is going to be what it's going to be.
And by the way, you mentioned Aaron Donald having short arms. His arm still measured 32 and 5/8 inches, right? So that's like almost like 2 inches longer than Ruben Bain. So there's a big difference there, bro. The other position that I'm very curious about is that wide
Yeah,
receiver. Because I
yeah,
think that this might be potentially the best draft position for this
this year,
draft.
yeah, that's out here, yeah,
When I look at both Amari Cooper Jr. and Elijah Surratt, I think both of these players were highly, highly productive at Indiana. But a
hmm,
lot of these players on Indiana's roster were kind of like the band of misfits who came together and did something phenomenal. And so I think that the perception is that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts.
yeah,
And Elijah Surratt being one of the parts maybe doesn't get the type of credit, on this draft board that maybe he deserves. Because remember, he started at FCS St. Francis.
yeah,
He moved to FBS James Madison and was very productive. I mean, I watched it firsthand. He balled. And
yeah,
then he went up to Indiana and did the exact same thing for 2 years in the Big Ten.
hmm,
But for some reason, I don't see him as high on potential draft boards as a lot of other players. So I do think that he can go to this combine and have a great performance and really solidify his first round draft status.
yeah. No, I think for guys that play with great quarterbacks, it's more important for them to show what they can do
Right.
because most of the times you get in the NFL, you're going to have quarterback issues, right? So they want a guy who has a quarterback issue and is still successful regardless. They don't want to, there's not many perfect quarterback scenarios in this league. So,
Right.
um, yeah, for a guy like those guys, I think it's going to be very difficult because you know, he is at one of the best quarterback situations in college football, the best quarterback situation in college football. So is he able to play at get the same production without having that game changing quarterback
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
in the league? So
Yeah,
it's gonna be
totally.
difficult.
Yeah, and I think for Surratt, I think it's a question of speed, right? And separation from defenders. Like he had the nickname Waffle House because he said he was open 24/7. But a lot of his catches, he wasn't wide open, like they were contested catches. He just has very strong hands, so he's more of a possession guy. And so when you compare him with a guy like, Carnell Tate, who's also not like super fast, the kid out of Ohio State, but he's probably projected to
Hmm.
be the first receiver taken off the board, right?
Yeah.
And then
Hmm.
Jordan Tyson at Arizona State. Now, this guy is
Hmm.
like super fast, right? Also has, some of the physical attributes that you want in a receiver. Reminds me a little bit of, the way that Amani top speed Toomer used to play.
Yeah.
And then I think the other guy, Malachi Fields, right? I don't think he runs the greatest routes, which you could probably attest to that. But, he's super athletic and has been very productive at Notre Dame. Now, where the money comes into play for a receiver, right? And Amani, you tell me how this jives with your experience back in the day. A first-round receiver right now, if you go top 15, you're probably looking at upwards of $28 million, again, fully guaranteed. But if you go late first round, that number probably drops somewhere between 12 to 16 million. A second round receiver right now is looking at somewhere between 6 million and 9 million. Again, not fully guaranteed because it's not in the first round. Maybe 60 to 75% of that's guaranteed through signing bonus. And then a third round receiver probably looking at 5 million again to 6 million. So, yeah, wide receiver, premium spot in the NFL. I'll tell you a spot that's not is running back. Like running backs are so undervalued now.
Yeah.
Right. But we have an NFL. We have a running back in this combine who potentially might be a first rounder this year. Right. Who we haven't seen that in quite some time. Yeah. And Jeremiah Love. So what are your thoughts about the running back position overall at the combine? What do they need to do? And thoughts on running backs being undervalued in the NFL draft over the last, let's say 3 years at least.
It's funny because, you look at the last 2 years, the reason why both of the Eagles 2 years ago and the Seattle Seahawks this year, they won mostly because of good running back play. And so I feel like the narrative that running backs you can get a running back at any spot, I feel like it just doesn't hold water anymore. The difference between an average running back and a great running back, I don't care how long they last. It's for that 3 to 5 years is huge.
Oh yeah.
And so I just don't understand how people say, "Oh, they're not going to last." Well, most people in the NFL don't last.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's like the average career is 4 years. So now all of a sudden you're getting mad at somebody because they're not going to be dominant for 10 years. Like, what are you talking about? There's very rarely anybody who's going to be dominant for 10 years.
Yeah, but a quarterback can play more than, quarterbacks, like you get an elite quarterback, the way that they take care of quarterbacks, especially now in this chump change, super, fluff NFL where you can't touch them and breathe on them, right? Like you can you get a good quarterback, they can play 15 years.
I just don't. Yeah, they could. Yeah. But you get a good running back, he could play 9 to 10 years and be done. Yeah. I feel like quarterback is a position that you need to have a really, really good one. You don't need to have a great quarterback.
Yeah.
Last 2 years, when there hasn't been a great quarterback, no disrespect to Sam Darnold at all, because I feel like he did a phenomenal job, but he's not, would you consider him a generational talent?
Not really.
Would you consider Jalen Hurts? Would you consider him a generational talent?
Probably.
You say he's a generational talent at quarterback.
Not generational, but the guy won a Super Bowl and took him to another Super Bowl. Like that to me says, you know what? He's defied some of the odds in Philadelphia, and, he has a play specifically for him that only he can execute in the tush push, right?
So you're going to have a quarterback that can do the tush push.
Yes.
Seriously.
Because it's unstoppable. Who stops it? Nobody stops it. So if I got
so you're going to the combines and you're like, yeah, man, this dude, he looks like a tush pusher. Yeah. I'm going to get in. Come on.
No, but how about this? But if I am looking at a quarterback who's got all the other intangibles that I'm looking for, he's got a good enough arm, but he can squat 700 pounds like Jalen Hurts, I'm probably looking at it and saying, you know what, we might be able to run the tush push. And that's a guaranteed first down on 3rd and 1. That's a big deal in the NFL. But let's.
Because you're giving credit to the tush push
I
solely to
am.
the quarterback.
I am. I
Nobody,
well,
it's a
well,
tush push, like somebody's
well.
pushing you.
But if he didn't squat 700 and gazillion pounds, the tush push doesn't work. I mean, you think Tom Brady could do tush push?
Yes, I do.
No, no chance. No way. Because Bill Belichick would have run it if he thought that Tom Brady could run tush push, right?
Nobody
And
thought the tush push was even a play. They created a play. Like nobody.
exactly my point. But now
So
that
you're
that play
saying
is out there,
Jalen Hurts is an elite quarterback or a generational talent quarterback because of the tush push.
I am saying that he is. He has generational talent potential, right? Obviously, his career is still going,
Look, I'm
but
not.
the guy created an entire play based around his skill set. Was the last player that created a play for his skill set? What? Name one. Name one
Vic.
where the NFL is literally about to make a rule. Remember when, I don't remember, Bill Russell, when he first started dunking the basketball, they were like, yo, we got to make this illegal. You can't dunk the basketball. That's got to be illegal. Jalen Hurts is out there dunking the basketball on fools on the football field.
Look, I am a Jalen Hurts fan, so don't get me twisted. But like, would you put it this way? Who would you rather have as your quarterback, Jalen Hurts or Lamar?
I mean, I'm probably gonna
Just
take.
say Lamar and let's move on. Would you
I
say?
like
Would
them.
you
I like them both. I'd take Jalen Hurts though.
stop it? Just stop it.
Jalen Hurts he's also durable, right? I mean, Lamar missed half the season. I'm taking Jalen Hurts.
How many?
How many
Yeah,
Super Bowls?
just
How many Super Bowls does Lamar have?
None.
Exactly. I'm taking Jalen Hurts. The guy's a winner.
you're taking all. You think this is the problem with the NFL now. You think there are two players on every team, or
Yeah.
one player on every team, the
No,
quarterback,
I don't believe
And
that.
everybody else on the team is just a bot.
Yeah.
They're
No.
just bots. Just nobody else is playing. You're buying into this. You know when this started happening? When these quarterbacks started taking control when they started hiring quarterbacks to do broadcasting, quarterbacks, of course, they're going to promote themselves. They
Yeah.
think the most important, your team rises and falls depending on how good your quarterback is.
No,
Ask the
I think
Buffalo Bills if that works out.
no, I think that's true. I mean, this is another debate for another time,
Okay.
but I do think that's true, and I think that's why quarterbacks get paid more than any otother position. I think that's also why
think
a
they
guy
get
like Fernando Mendoza goes to the combine. He doesn't have to throw a football because he's like, yo, he comes in on a red carpet. He doesn't need to throw it. He's a quarterback.
cool. I agree.
But Jeremiah Love is going to go run a 40 and do the L drill and the shuttle drill. He's going to do everything because he has to, because the running back draft stock has gone way down. But if you're drafted in the first round, you might get 14 million bucks as a first round running back. And you compare that to the money that a quarterback would get. Even a Jalen Hurts, who might, be a generational talent because he can do the tush push. But
Look,
that is a big deal.
I love I love him, but I also have a lot of Philadelphia Eagle fans
Yeah.
and they're not impressed with Jalen Hurts. I think
Yeah.
I'm talking
Talking my Philadelphia Eagle friend off of the off of the ledge with Jalen Hurts. The Philadelphia Eagle fans are sold on Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Anybody else, Amani, as you think about this draft, is there anyone else that kind of stands out to you? I think the only one that I would also mention is Justin Jolly, the tight end out of NC State. I think he's a guy that could also move up the draft board based on his performance at the combine. He's projected right now as a day 2, day 3 kind of guy, but he's got elite skills. And I think he's a guy that if he can go out and actually perform well in the combine, which is why they set it up this way, he's a guy that moves into the first round because of his skill set.
Yeah. I think they got a guy. I don't know if we talked about him before. Jordy Tyson, the wide receiver out of Arizona State.
Yeah.
I think he's a guy that could really elevate himself because he's, makes crazy plays and, the speed, the size. I think that's going to, his deep balls, um, how he's able to, come up with these big wow plays with the deep balls. I think that's something that a lot of
Yeah.
receivers can separate themselves with. I was there when I was at the CD Lamb combine,
Okay.
and you know he just has this confidence about him
Yeah.
that is, it was funny. They were doing these drills where they were throwing fades
Yeah.
versus air, just throwing fades, and he kept jumping and like doing all these acrobatics through these regular catches, and everybody's like, ooh, ah, and I'm just like, what are we watching here? This guy is just catching a fade, and all of a sudden it's like he's doing all these cartwheels and
Uh,
stuff, and everybody's like, he's amazing. Of course, he's a great player, but like
no, he's a monster.
it was a little weird watching him do all
Yeah.
that stuff, and so
That's funny.
it was more
Well,
his energy that he was showing, not how he loved. His energy was what I think put him over the top.
yeah. So, I mean, listen, there's probably 100 more players I would want to talk about, but we don't have enough time for that. Are you going to watch the combine, though, this weekend? Are you going to watch the on-field stuff?
I love the on-field stuff.
Yeah.
Will I watch it? I'll probably catch a lot of the highlights because it's pretty dry for a good portion of it, and I
Yeah.
would just like if I would watch it, record it, and then hit fast forward button because some of the stuff that they're saying, they're just talking, right?
Yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
I don't really care about the stories about all this and that. Like, just
Yeah.
let's keep it a buck. Let's keep it a buck 100. Let's just see what they're doing on the field. I don't care about, the charities and the
Yeah. Just give me the 40 times.
grade point average or like how
Yeah.
many hours you spent watching film. Please, please, please.
No, I'm here for some of the color, but I think, the good news for our listeners, I think for our next episode, we're going to do a follow-up. So we're going to do a part 2 to the combine episode.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about some of the top performances and what that might actually mean for the way these players actually move. So today we talked about it hypothetically, talked about some of those considerations, but I think in the next episode, we'll be able to talk about specific players, how they performed, how they did not perform, and how that might impact their money when it comes to their draft status. Amani, this is a lot of fun for me, man, especially hearing about your draft and combine experiences. So, I got a new nickname for you, Amani Top Speed Toomer.
Top speed tumor. Yeah.
Top Speed Toomer.
Well,
That's
not
dope.
anymore. Like,
Yeah.
my
No,
top speed is, yeah.
you Amani third gear Toomer now. There's no there's
I'm
no
in
top
second.
speed.
I'm in second, and it's my and the RPMs are going higher and higher.
But you know what, man? You still standing on business. So again, to our
Absolutely.
listeners, please subscribe to the podcast. Make sure you share us if you are listening on Apple or Spotify. And also hit the subscribe button on YouTube. We've got a big goal for subscribers we're trying to hit. So help us to get that goal. And Amani, until next time, man, keep standing on business.
Absolutely.